career high 25 points, 11 of 14 shooting from the floor, and at the end of the game, he was the champion according to Bob Knight.
Indeed he was, but they've got great production up front from these two guys. Kirk Haston is the 6th leading scorer in the Big Ten Conference and the conference's leading rebounder. So Indiana comes well balanced, the leading most efficient offensive team in the Big Ten Conference. And they've come into the Cats Den here at Welsh Ryan Arena. To Mike Gleason in the studio.
At 7-1. Hoosiers can reach 7-2 with a victory today. You'll see their game shortly. Purdue jumped in front of Penn State with a victory on Wednesday. Illinois is back at 500. And Northwestern takes another shot at cracking the win column in just a few minutes.
Of the Northwestern student section, who's your daddy? Who's your daddy? Coach Knight responded to the taunts, confronted Kevin O'Neill, the head coach at Northwestern. They got into a little bit of a flap there. Later would settle their differences later that afternoon. But that, of course, has led to a little extra to this game, the return match, as Indiana comes to Evanston today. And moments ago, Bob Knight with the Northwestern student section throwing candy to the crowd. How about this for diffusing the situation?
You know, you never know how to read Bob Knight. He keeps you so off balance.
Oh, my goodness.
Totally unpredictable.
And there's the handshake with Kevin O'Neill. They are actually very good friends off the court and have talked 15, 20 times since that incident last year and seen each other 3 or 4 times at one event or another. Let's take a look at the Value City lineups for this afternoon's game. And there you get a look at Indiana, Guyton, Lewis, and Fife. Then Lynn Washington gets a start up front with Kirk Haston. A.J. Guyton leads the Big Ten in scoring. And for the Northwestern Wildcats, Johnson, Collier, Drayton, a good defensive player. Steve Laporte, outside shooter. Tavares Hardy, Aaron Jennings up front. Ben Johnson leads his team in scoring. Dodge keys to the game. Take a look at him for Indiana.
Indiana will want to come out and force Northwestern to their perimeter game. It's the weakest part of their attack. And then, of course, when you're on offense, Indiana will look to go inside, take advantage of their interior strength. Northwestern, on the other hand, they need to take care of the basketball. 12 or fewer turnovers will be necessary today because Indiana will turn those turnovers into quick points if they're loose with the basketball, and then the post defense has to be there. We're talking about clamping down on Haston and Richardson when he comes in the game.
Kevin O'Neill has the youngest team in Division I college basketball. He told me yesterday he knew this year was coming when he took the job 3 years ago. Bob Knight, 29th season at Indiana. That record pretty much says it all. 3 national championships, numerous Big Ten titles, and the only team in the Big Ten to go to the NCAA every single season in the 90s. Indiana, the traveling red uniforms, and we're underway. Northwestern to the home whites. Lewis sets it up for the Hoosiers. He leads his team in assists, averaging 5.5 assists per game.
Northwestern opens in a matchup zone defense, obviously looking to put pressure on the inside, but also keep a defensive presence on the basketball, the man with the basketball.
Haston looking to turn, nowhere to go, finds Lewis at the arc. 8 to go on the shot clock. Washington inside, drops it off for Fife.
Indiana's going to be very patient on offense, whether they're going against man-to-man pressure or zone pressure. And that time, good passing. Fife was able to find an opening along the baseline.
Hardy picked up by Lynn Washington.
It's man-to-man defense, of course, for Indiana.
Collier Drayton sets it up. Picked up on a switch by Washington. Jennings trying to set a screen to free up Laporte. Here's Hardy at the top of the key. 8 to go on the shot clock. Tried to enter it into the big guy and couldn't get it done. Hoosiers off the steal. Michael Lewis and the tip by Kirk Haston.
Right away, we go to our keys. Northwestern must avoid the turnover. And Indiana's attacking inside with their superior strength and offensive rebound early.
Tavares Hardy resets the offense for Northwestern, gets the step. Ben Johnson back to Hardy in close, hit among the trees, had it blocked, knocked out of bounds. It'll belong to Indiana.
You can't be hesitant going against Indiana. Hardy got the ball inside, really had no opening, needed to look out on the perimeter for an open teammate because he was double teamed.
A.J. Guyton Glides to the baseline. Kevin O'Neill said the thing that strikes him about Giden is that Giden makes tough shots. That's not a very tough shot, but this is the key with him. He makes tough shots. It doesn't matter if you're in his shirt. Chances are he's going to make the shot. Indiana comes out hot in the first 2 minutes in Evanston. Off to a 3-for-4 start from the field, and they've done it both ways. In transition here.
You have to be careful of Michael Lewis. He'll always try to take that baseline if possible, but then inside lurking for the tip in is Kirk Haston. And, you know, this guy much improved in terms of being able to put the ball on the floor and score in a variety of ways. Giden already 2 points.
Kevin O'Neill mentioned we don't have an answer for Giden. He said few teams do the other end offensively.
Well, you mentioned that he takes tough shots. I look at it that he takes tough shots, but he also takes crunch time shots, which makes those shots tough. He's
Exactly.
their go-to guy, without a question.
And there's so many teams you see across the country that don't have a guy they can go to in the final seconds of either a possession or a game. Jennings comes up short. Jennings stays right with it. Didn't quite get that one to go. And the Hoosiers come back the other way. 2.5 minutes gone by. There's a look at the shooting story. Indiana, one of the better defensive teams in the Big Ten, and in fact this is one of Bob Knight's best defensive teams in recent memory. Dane Fife. Here's Guyton off a screen by Washington. They do such a good job of screening for their shooters. They always have. A.J. Guyton second from the field. He's got 4.
Well, Indiana gives you so much movement on offense. You really have to have a defensive patience. You've got to communicate, most importantly, so that you can come off those screens or switch if necessary.
Tavares Hardy. Lepore coming up on 10 to go on the shot clock. Knocked out of bounds by Fife.
You see the defensive pressure that Indiana applies, and Fife really committed to the defensive concept. But here's Guyton moving without the basketball. You see he gets numerous screens right there and then puts the ball on the floor to free himself even more.
Quick change for Northwestern as Newman comes in. He has to save. Saves to Fife. Fife 1-on-1. In on the drive. Scored and a foul. Blocking foul on David Newman.
You know, Wayne, I just can't emphasize it enough. Indiana, I mean, it's one thing to turn the basketball over, but this team, when you turn it over against them, they go right in transition looking to score. Here, Fife gets the theft, goes inside, the little layup right there. He's going to get a 3-point opportunity, and just like that, Northwestern is facing a double-digit deficit.
Hoosiers have scored the first 11 points of the game. Bob Knight remembers that overtime battle of a year ago. That was an epic struggle here. But this is a much different Northwestern team.
It's a different Indiana team, too.
Yes. Foul coming up as Lewis played him tight. You take a look at what the Hoosiers have started here today. This is the 9th time this season they've had a run of 10 points or more. Not at the start of a game, but a run at some point during the game of that many. Northwestern trying to stay in its offensive set. Gamble there by Guyton. Quick ball movement. Johnson gets the step on Fife. Confronts Haston. Left it short.
Did you see how they collapse to the basketball? Anytime there's a threat of a drive by an opponent, Indiana, they leave their man. They'll go to the basketball. So the guy driving has to be ready to make a sound decision, whether to shoot it or pass it.
Washington gets fouled on the play. Greg, just to go back to your point, that last possession by Northwestern, the Indiana defense, that showed you what makes them so good. It's their help side defense. It's their team defense the Indiana people have talked about. Not any one guy locking up another, but the concept of team defense and the way they help each other out.
You've got to understand, if you're Northwestern today, if you beat your man initially, doesn't mean you've got a free path to the basket.
At the free throw line, Lynn Washington making good on his first, and he'll have another. And he makes good on a pair. Indiana has missed very little thus far. Bob Knight and company have scored the first 13. He has 13 points at the outset of a game. And Greg, we talked about Indiana's defense. There's the gamble by Giden. He knows he's got help coming.
No question. And you're going to see Ben Johnson. He beats Fife baseline, but here comes the help. Haston right there to provide resistance, and they make it very, very tough.
Great illustration of Bob Knight's defensive concept for Indiana. Robinson is in the ball game now for Northwestern, and he ties up Washington. They knock it out of bounds. Last touch by Lynn Washington. Adam Robinson is an improving youngster in this Northwestern program, and they like his potential. He's suffering from a hamstring injury. And apparently they're changing the call. Sam Licklider correcting the call. Let's take a look at this. This is the play coming right at you. Who touched it last here? Boy, hard to tell. But the officials give it to Indiana. Haston, high post. And it halfway down. Northwestern looking for its first points of the afternoon. Newman off the dribble. Lepore unloads for three.
Not the start Northwestern had anticipated, I'm sure. Packed house.
Guyton for three, rims the bucket, and it got a foul coming up on David Newman. So it's going to be 3 shots at the line for A.J. Guyton, and what could go wrong has gone wrong in the early going for Northwestern.
It really has. I was about to say a packed house, though there are a lot of Indiana boosters here. This crowd was electric and ready to get into this game, and so far they've had very little to cheer about. That is the Northwestern fans.
Indiana, meanwhile, has missed 1 shot here this afternoon in the first 5 minutes of this game. A.J. Guyton continues to register at the line, double figure scoring in 17 of the 19 games this season. We mentioned he leads the Big Ten in scoring. It is a true go-to performer for these Hoosiers on the offensive end. Guyton with 7 points already. 16-0 Indiana. Johnson, nice shovel inside, and Burke could not complete it.
They've got to shake off the jitters. I mean, right now I'm sensing a lot of nervousness with Northwestern, and especially at home, you cannot play that way.
Guyton for three, a little strong there. Fife off the hand of Haston. A.J. Guyton on the dribble this time. Dane Fife mishandled it, and what do we have? A 3-second violation coming up on Indiana. A rare mistake by Coach Knight's team thus far. Dane Fife, I believe, he took that pass and it hit him right in the eye. He may have gotten poked right there.
Right there on the offensive rebound. And you can see he's smarting a little bit, but he stays out on the floor. He's a tough guy.
He mishandled a pass just before the 3-second violation. It may have been because of that eye problem. Boy, Fife so tough defensively in the man-to-man. Collier, Drayton. Drayton jumps toward the lane, nearly traveled. Burke from the corner. Another air ball. Guyton backs out of there. Baseline jumper right on the money.
Wow. Wow.
9 for A.J. Guyton, and the lead is 18-0, and a shaken squad of Wildcats needs a timeout. Indiana playing in a comfort zone, but Kevin O'Neill has got to get his young troops settled down with 13:51 left to go in this first half. Well, you take a look at this well-balanced Indiana team. Kevin O'Neill said the point about Indiana is that they are the best. The first thing he said to me yesterday, this is the best offensive team in the Big Ten, and these categories would attest.
Oh, they're sound in every area. But what Northwestern needs to do right now is wipe the name off the jerseys and just go play basketball. If this game were out in the playground, I guarantee you it would not be 18-0. They're just, right now it looks like they're in a bit of awe. And 6 minutes in, yet to settle down.
Indiana's hit 6 of 9. Northwestern 0 for 7 from the field. Brody Darren. Ben Johnson up high to Lepore. Winston Blake gets a screen from Lepore.
Tough to get penetration against that defense.
Johnson a force over Lewis.
And
Dane fights the rebound.
Yeah, and no presence on that offensive glass for Northwestern.
Indiana, the #1 defensive rebounding team in the Big Ten. Haston, the fall away. Collier Drayton the rebound. Yep, took it off the floor. Good blocking out there. Blake short once again. Johnson, Lepore stutter stepped in as he did. That's a shot where if you're Steve Lepore, Greg, you'd like to see him go right up with it immediately.
Yeah, the hesitation has to be taken out of Northwestern's attack right now. If you've got a shot, you got to take it because the defense is not going to give you a long look. They recovered very quickly to the basketball, and Lepore ended up turning it over.
Yeah, Lepore's a spot-up shooter. When he gets it at the arc, he's got to go with it. Giden. A.J. Giden can do both. He can spot up and shoot it, or he can take it off the dribble. This will belong to Northwestern.
Over 7 minutes in, Northwestern has yet to score. Amazing. And I think a lot of that can be attributed, as you see the errant shot there by Giden, a lot of that can be attributed to Indiana's tough D, but also Northwestern right now, their own worst enemy.
Yeah, their nerves, yes, indeed. There's a block by Fife. Hardy to Collier Drayton. Northwestern yet to score. 7.5 minutes gone by, first half.
And the longer it takes to score, the more difficult it becomes on that person taking the shot. They need someone to step up and break this ice, and then you could see a lot of the nerves diminish.
Greg, they need an upperclassman. There are none on the roster.
Yeah, go to the senior, but there are none.
Here's Johnson.
Finally.
12-12 to go. Johnson hits the first field goal of the game for Northwestern.
He's the one guy, he's their best offensive player. He's the one guy that can put it on the floor and create. He may have to do a lot of that, not only for himself, but for his teammates.
Collier Drayton on the hold of A.J. Giden. First on Collier Drayton. Fourth on the team. Almost 8 minutes gone by in this first half. Jeffrey Newton in the contest for the first time. He gets the step on the drive. Got clobbered on the play, and what do they got? Offensive foul. Foul is called on Jeffrey Newton. It's his first. Second on the team. 11:55 left to go. First half. Energy Company and a Big Ten corporate partner when it comes to getting reliable electricity and natural gas. Dynegy delivers. Mike Gleason is standing by in the Big Ten studio. We'll be hearing from him from time to time. Michigan State, another impressive non-conference win for the Big Ten this week. Michigan State over UConn, 85-66. Earlier this week, Iowa bested Kansas. Right here, Northwestern got off to an 18-0 deficit. Trying to cut into it, and Johnson, Ben Johnson, who's hit the only field goal of the afternoon for the Wildcats, comes up short on that offering. The Indiana Hoosiers, the 11th ranked team in the nation. Good look down low to Haston. He was fouled by Brody Darren. It's a nice pass from Jeffrey Newton, who really sees the floor pretty well for a young player, doesn't he?
Yeah, Newton's a nice player. Has been in and out of the starting lineup. Right now, Northwestern in a man-to-man defense, they've got to understand that when they're in that man-to-man, Indiana's #1 look is going to be inside to Newton or Haston.
Lewis leads this team in assists. Guyton running off the screen. Newton to the left hand. Tip by Haston won't go. And Tavares Hardy pries it loose for Northwestern.
I might be a little bit concerned if I'm Northwestern about that interior position that Haston keeps getting. He seems to get his hands on a lot of offensive rebounds.
Backdoor Hardy on the reverse. Banks it home. Nicely done.
That's their best play out of their half-court set thus far.
Without a doubt. Foul coming up here on Dane Fife. His first, third on the team. Take a look at the last possession by Northwestern.
There's Johnson, and we say he needs to get a little more offensive-minded in terms of creating for himself and opportunities for his teammates. Nice inside move there by Tavares Hardy on the backdoor cut.
Back live, the drive blocked on the play by Newton, who leads the team in blocks. Lewis in transition. Giden for three. Ring it up.
Great job by Lewis, directing traffic, going down the floor all the time, motioning. Come on, guys, let's balance this floor with an eye on getting the ball to Giden. I'd look to get it to Giden, too.
Yes. You, too, could lead the Big Ten in assists the way that guy shoots.
Easily.
Jennings backing in, called for steps. Almost halfway through first half, 5 turnovers by Northwestern.
The goal for Northwestern should be to try to trail by no more than 10 points. And with 10 minutes to go in this half, plenty of time to settle yourself and get that done.
A.J. Giden. Collier Drayton, one of the better defenders for Northwestern. There's a Indiana miscue there, 4th turnover. And Northwestern gets it back.
Well, you know, except for the transition opportunity that Indiana got a moment ago with Lewis pushing to Giden, Northwestern's defense has been better the last 4 or 5 possessions.
You can see it. They're starting to settle down a little bit.
Right.
David Newman back on, replacing Collier Drayton. Newman, Winston, Blake, and Ben Johnson, 3-guard offense for Northwestern. Aaron Jennings, Tavares Hardy in among the trees, blocked by Dane Fife.
You've got to be able to locate the defense. Catching the ball inside and making up your mind you're going to the basket is not going to work against this collapsing defense of Indiana.
Tavares Hardy picks up his first, 6th on the team. 5 blocks by Indiana here this afternoon. And again, we talked about this. This is probably, the Indiana people tell me this is the best defensive team they've had in about 5 years.
Well, they've got defensive quickness. That's the thing. I mean, if you've watched Indiana over the last 20 years, you know that they have good help side concepts and they like to rally to the ball. But this team seems to have major quickness, which allows them to do that very, very soundly.
Richardson in the lineup, coming off that career high the other night, 25 points against Penn State. There's Guyton. I'll tell you what, you're in his shirt and all of a sudden he's over your head shooting in a jumper.
Yeah, he really elevates on that jump shot. He jumped right over the top of the defense of Newman that time.
14 for A.J. Guyton. Tavares Hardy to the left hand. Nicely done. 4 for Tavares Hardy. Hardy, a sophomore, one of the grizzled veterans on this Northwestern team. I say that advisedly. Guyton trying to create into traffic, stolen by Hardy, tied up by Richardson, and a jump ball indicated. Alternating possession, it'll belong to Northwestern.
Good job of defense again by Northwestern. Guyton goes up, looks for the drop off, it gets tipped, and then a little rallying and collapsing to the ball by Northwestern. Now, if you're Northwestern, Wayne, you don't look up at the scoreboard and see a 17-point deficit. You look up at the scoreboard and see perhaps a 7-point deficit. That makes you feel like you're in this game. You get that lead down in small increments.
Hardy banging away at it off the miss by Lepore, and Newton comes out of there with it to Lewis.
He'll take it
nice
all the way.
Crossover. Didn't quite finish it. Rebound battle, got a foul coming up, and it's on Larry Richardson.
Again, you always have to be cognizant of Lewis's ability in transition to go all the way to the basket. He'll do that if you don't force him to stop, pick up the dribble.
(23-6), Northwestern trailing Indiana. A little over 8 minutes to go, first half. Jennings with the elbow. Aaron Jennings, second personal.
Unforced error. And you've heard me talk about margin for error in games past. Well, Northwestern's is very, very slim. They cannot have that.
Not an unforced error like that. You're exactly right. Especially when you've started the game down 18-0.
Exactly.
You know?
And you're trying to mount some momentum.
Luke Jimenez reported in a minute or two ago for Indiana. Here's Lewis. The block clears. They'll get somebody on a screen. 5-second violation called on Michael Lewis. A little lethargic were the Hoosiers on that possession, but their lead is huge. Winning streak on the line in that game to the Blue Devils, and they had to work overtime to sustain that streak the other night at North Carolina. Take a look at these numbers. Wow. A.J. Giden himself has doubled up the offensive production of the Wildcats thus far. Northwestern desperately trying to put something together here to get back into this game somewhat by halftime. Brody Daring goes to work. Lepore unloads for three. Oh, good block out by Richardson there.
Even though he missed that, I'd be satisfied with that shot because he got a good look. He didn't hesitate.
Jimenez creates down low for Lewis. They find Guyton for three. Up high, Richardson.
Again, the interior strength of Indiana. Newman went up for the rebound, but he was no match for Richardson, who was up even higher and got the putback.
Foul on A.J. Guyton is his first, 5th on the team. Take a look at this, a spring in the legs. Watch Richardson come into your picture now.
Look at Newton. He's going to jump, but he can't quite get up that high, and Richardson is right there with the stick back. He's shooting an amazing 75% from the floor in Big Ten play.
Newton did all the fundamental things on that rebound well, but you can't account for the athletic ability of a guy like Richardson coming in over the top. Yeah, the coach, he's got spring in those legs of his. Indeed he does. Newman out of position there on the quick move by Lewis to the baseline. Lewis a little quicker, Greg, than he's given credit for.
He's really quick going to his left. If you can force him to have to put the ball on the floor with his right hand, then you can slow him down and contain him a little bit. But very few teams are able to get on that right side. He forces his way left.
David Newman leaves. Ben Johnson back in. Newman with 3 personal fouls. And Michael Lewis heads to the free throw stripe. I mentioned Lewis. He leads this team in assists, averaging almost 6 per game. Had 10 points, 9 assists the other night against Penn State. There's David Newman on the bench with the foul trouble.
Newman was very key for the Northwestern team in that overtime loss last year to these Hoosiers. He had 18 points.
Newman's been up and down, in and out of the lineup this year for Kevin O'Neal. Hardy lost the handle on it, touched it last. It'll belong to Indiana. We've got some debris on the floor that the officials are cleaning up. Tom Clark in particular. There he is. Gets it taken care of. If you missed it earlier, Bob Knight came out and tossed candy to the Northwestern crowd, student section.
And right away took the edge because they were pumped. They had the signs. They were going to go after him. But he made that gesture. That diffused them. But probably the biggest diffuser was this effort that the Hoosiers have come out with to start this game.
18-0 start after the olive branch cast by Coach Knight prior to the opening tip. Lewis from the outside is first from the field. He's got 3.
Hey, Wayne, hard to taunt when you're down 22.
Yes. Johnson for 3. Ben Johnson, who hit the first field goal of the game for Northwestern, gets his second. He has 5 points.
You got a feel for Collier Drayton, number 32. He's being asked to chase Guyton all over the floor, and Guyton's giving him so much movement.
Larry Richardson, second from the field. He's got 4.
This guy just doesn't miss very much.
No. Johnson jumps into traffic, had it knocked away. Washington to Guyton. In on Drayton.
What body control. Did you see him plant with both feet and then jump, sliver to the basket to avoid an offensive charge, all the while keeping great concentration and shooting it softly off the glass.
It's been a clinic so far, and I'm sure you could rack up the tape and Bob Knight would show you This is the way Indiana was meant to play basketball, and they have been impressive here this afternoon. The BMW drive of the game. Take a look at it. Just a moment ago.
The slice and the soft touch.
A.J. Giden, he brings the full package, doesn't he? He's an excellent catch and shoot type of performer, but he can also get his shot off the dribble, which makes him dangerous in crunch time. And of course, he gets a lot of help from screening by his teammates.
Oh, they work to help him get open. But you bring up a good point, Wayne. Being able to put the ball on the floor, that's the area where he has really improved himself over the last couple of seasons.
And gives himself a dimension that not a lot of Indiana shooters over the years have had. Great play there. Blake missed down low, gets it back, scored, and a foul.
Very fortunate that he missed the dunk. The dunk would have only been 2, but now getting an offensive rebound, staying with it, going back up with some strength, he gets a 3-point opportunity. So some bad turned out good for Northwestern. Here, misses that dunk, doesn't quite get the elevation he needs, but he stays right there with it and now gets the foul going up in a crowd.
First free throw of the game for Northwestern. Kyle Hornsby rebounds it. Giden sets the floor. Luke Jimenez.
If you can, just keep your eye off the ball on Giden, the way he moves without it. Right now, underneath the basket, being chased by Collier. Got it now, right now. Collier Drayton doing his best to stay with this guy. Tough, tough defensive assignment. You know you're going to have to run through 1,000 screens. You better be in shape guarding Giden.
Oh, good entry into Richardson from Kyle Hornsby. Well done. 6 points for Richardson.
3 for 3 from the floor. We mentioned 11 for 14 against Penn State. Career high 25 points a few nights ago.
Aaron Jennings misses from the outside. Indiana back the other way, leading 34-11. Lynn Washington. Boy, I tell you, when they're open, they're not missing much of anything today.
Their ball movement is so crisp. They all catch it and pass it well. And generally, when they catch, they're in a good position to shoot it.
Ben Johnson takes early offense to his advantage. He has 7.
I think he's just got to do so much more of that because he's the best creator on this team. The only way they're going to get back into this game is if he can catch fire.
Guyton in traffic, able to clear it to Hornsby. Luke Jimenez. Hornsby wanted to go to Washington on the post. Instead to the corner, and A.J. Guyton. 7 to go on the shot clock. It takes patience to play Indiana. Make that Larry Richardson 8 points as he puts back the follow.
You know, Wayne, we talked about it before the game. Your defensive effort is not complete until you get the defensive rebound. Northwestern, last in the Big Ten in defensive rebounding. Right now, Indiana is taking big-time advantage of that deficiency.
Indiana, meanwhile, last touch there by Washington. Indiana, #1 in defensive rebounding. Their defense is such that they close the deal on that end of the floor as well as the offensive side. Senior from Orange Park, Florida. Watch him here on the opposite end. Shot comes off, and Richardson is there to put it back. And over the last game and a half, basically, he had quite a night against Penn State, but he is 15 of 18 in the last 2 games, and you get a look at what he's doing in Big Ten play. Just outstanding. Larry Richardson stepping up for this Indiana team. Lepore. Hornsby plays him tight. You know what you see? Indiana gets great ball pressure.
They really do. And by doing that, they make every pass tough. Not only is the shot contested, every pass is very difficult. We've seen many Northwestern passes either tipped, deflected, or intercepted in this game.
Robinson picks up the foul there. Kevin O'Neill mentioned we're not playing for our record. We're just playing to compete and get stronger as we go along. Putting in the building blocks. A very painful year from a wins and losses standpoint. But he feels good about these kids he has in the program, and a couple of more coming next year.
Yeah, you really got to be patient. And the toughest thing as a coach when you're struggling like this is to convince your team that it's going to work out eventually.
Michigan State beat Northwestern handily here in Evanston a week ago Wednesday, and since then Northwestern played a tough ball game up at Williams Arena against Minnesota, and then another tough ball game on the road at Purdue where they led in the second half of that game. Winston Blake, open look there. You've got to complete those when you get them against Indiana. You're not going to get very many. Dane Fife getting baseline. Kyle Hornsby for three.
Hornsby gets the basket, spotting up in three-point territory, but Dane Fife broke the entire Northwestern defense down to help him get that open look.
Inside of 2.5 minutes to go, first half. Aaron Robinson. You don't like to see one of your big guys handle the ball quite that much. Johnson working around a screen by Robinson. 8 to go on the shot clock. Johnson gets a high screen. Sets up Lepore for three. Ring it up.
Good patience that time in the half-court set, Northwestern. And again, Johnson creating for his teammates. He penetrated, drew the defense, kicked it out to an open Lepore.
Richardson. Jimenez. Jared Odell is in the game, and Jimenez from the outside. Three-point basket.
They really make it look simple sometimes.
Jason Burke. You got to watch that 5-second closely guarded situation.
And you got to be careful getting caught on that sideline, because that sideline's a defender.
And there was the trap by Indiana. Jimenez taken hard to the standard, and a foul coming up on Northwestern. Foul is on Winston Blake. Coming up at halftime, we'll return to the studio. Mike Leeson for the National Car Rental halftime report. Highlights from around the country, including Michigan State, UConn, and this ball game as well. A very efficient performance by Indiana. 3 points, 3 assists for Jimenez off the bench thus far.
You mentioned Michigan State's win over UConn. They also beat the Hoosiers in East Lansing a few weeks ago. And that was a game where it looked like Indiana had it sealed up. One of their only 2 losses in conference play, the other 2 Purdue.
They were within a field goal in that game as you watched it of sealing that win on the road. That would have been a huge one. Johnson, under a minute to go first half. It's been a nightmare for Northwestern, but a glimmer of hope. Ring up another tray for Steve Lepore. His second of the game. He's got 6.
He's got to keep doing that. Find the open spot, because he is a tremendous spot-up shooter. Get the open spot, call for the basketball, and don't hesitate when you catch it.
Dane Fife. Jimenez for 3. Ring it up. He has 7.
Right now, it really doesn't matter who's doing the shooting for Indiana. They're all hot.
Final seconds, first half. Foul on Dane Fife as Winston Blake made his drive. Second personal on Fife, 7 on the team. We welcome you to Welsh Ryan Arena on the campus of Northwestern University in Evanston, Illinois. Along with Greg Kelser, I'm Wayne Larrabee. Great to have you with us this afternoon for Big Ten basketball. Winston Blake at the free throw line. 2 points, 2 rebounds for Blake so far today. A.J. Giden scored early and often. 16 first half points.
Not even sweating.
No, barely warmed up. If you've just joined us, it has been. Yes, I know Northwestern is not your most talented or experienced Big Ten team, but this has been an impressive performance nonetheless by Indiana in this first half. Dane Fife, a deep 3 as the first half comes to a close. 18-0 start for Bob Knight and company after he extended an olive branch, threw candy to the crowd. Indiana enjoys a 48-21 halftime lead. The studio show coming up next.
60 victory.
Questioning of each other.
It was a big game for Northwestern, and their crowd was ready to explode. But Indiana came out fully ready to play. They jumped on them before they knew what happened. It was 13-0, 18-0. Took 7 minutes for Northwestern to get a basket.
Another painful reminder, I guess, for Kevin O'Neill and company that this is a building process and it's not always going to be easy. Take a look at the Ohio Casualty first half highlights. A.J. Giden.
He's Mr. Everything for Indiana, scoring in a variety of ways. 6 of 10 shooting from the floor. Also got 3 free throws to go down. All of this in 17 minutes of action. When you're out on the floor guarding him, he gives you constant motion, never stops moving, very difficult. And now when you add the fact that he can also put the ball on the floor and help himself, he is almost unguardable.
Guyton 6 of 10 shooting from the field helped contribute to that 62% shooting for Indiana. On the rebounding edge, Haston and Richardson, 6 rebounds apiece to lead the way. And of course the points off turnovers. Indiana did a great job of fueling its offense from the defensive end. Buick first half stats, all of that's in the books, and we're underway second half. Indiana begins it with a turnover on a pass into the post intended for Haston. Scoring leaders, we mentioned Guyton. Johnson led the way for Northwestern. He scored the first field goal for the Wildcats in the game. Almost 8 minutes had gone by before that field goal came. Aaron Jennings on the block down low. Nice move.
Finally, Jennings gets an opening, takes full advantage of not being double teamed.
Biggest student participation crowd of the year for Northwestern, and they're just waiting to get into this ball game. Waiting for the Wildcats to make some kind of run. On this end, Greg, when you play Indiana defensively, patience is the big key, isn't it? Patience and persistence.
You have to not break down. Sometimes you have to understand that, we're going to run through screens. Communication is the key. You've got to be able to call the screens out, get over the screens, and if you can't, then you have to be willing to switch. Like right there, Guyton popped off that screen wide open. No one was there to help. When he caught it, he had a good look at the basket.
Second team foul and almost as many seconds on Northwestern. Ben Johnson picked up that one. Steve Lepore had the one on the previous play. And A.J. Guyton at the free throw line. Guyton has scored 20 or more points 11 times this year. He now has 17 in this game. 6th all-time leading scorer in Indiana basketball history. 18 points for A.J. Guyton. 27-point lead, Indiana. Lepore picked up on Lynn Washington. Johnson, a quality look out of the corner for 3. Rebound corralled by Dane Fife on the run. Lynn Washington with authority.
Everything they've done today has been done well. Transition opportunities, they've got good floor balance. They run their lanes hard. They're passing the ball. They're catching it well. Just a sound effort in every area offensively as well as defensively by Indiana thus far.
Jennings, nice move again. Second from the field, 4 points in the early going of the second half for Jennings.
I'm a big proponent of catching the ball in the post and then doing something right away. And twice now Jennings has been able to do that. He's come away successfully. A couple of baskets here in the second half.
Guyton putting moves on Johnson. Finally drew contact at a foul on Ben Johnson. We mentioned it. Transition offense off of defense. Here it is for Indiana.
The long rebound comes out. Fife, who I think is an unsung player on this Indiana roster, gets it up to a streaking Washington, and Washington able to get all the way for the finish.
Well, you mentioned, Fife, and then Michael Lewis is basically the setup man. Guyton the finisher. And Dane Fife right here, normally an excellent defensive player. Blocked by Jennings. Fife trying to dig it out, couldn't come up with it.
Fife and Lewis are both sound offensive players, but in this attack, they're very unselfish. Now here's Fife trying to get an opportunity for himself. Miscalculates off the glass. But you've got to have guys, if you're going to be successful as a team, sacrificing some of their own individual abilities. And Fife, Lewis, and others are very willing to do that for Indiana.
Winston Blake. Newman, and look at the extension of the defense by Lewis.
Yeah, you almost
Newman off the dribble. Traveled on the play or what? No, we got a foul coming up on Indiana.
You know, if you're Northwestern, you almost get the sense that if you had to leave to go to the restroom, there'd be an Indiana player there guarding you.
Yes. Helping you, opening the door. Another one meeting you at the, handing you a towel, you know, after you're finished to wash your hands.
You just cannot leave them. They're right there in your face constantly defensively, and they've been that way throughout this game.
Lynn Washington committed the foul that has David Newman at the free throw line. His first point of the game. Bob Knight, his team well prepared coming into this contest here today. You know, one of the things you've got to wonder, regardless of discipline, how hard is it to play with this big a lead, to keep your intensity? You take a look right here. Indiana showing no signs of letting up, running their offense, getting good looks. A quality look there by Giden that didn't go down. And now on the defensive end playing just as hard as they were at the outset of the game.
Wayne, their motivation is sitting over there in a red sweater. Trust me.
I don't have to ask you who that is. That's not one of the assistants, is it?
No. He coaches the game, the possession, not the score.
Tavares Hardy for two, a long deuce attempt. Here comes Lewis. Haston in close, in among the trees, fouled by Tavares Hardy. Hardy's second personal. That's already 4 on Northwestern. Indiana leading 52-27. Bob Knight, ever the teacher. I would say A.J. Giden has learned his lessons well at Indiana.
Well, if anyone gets a bit of relief when the coach starts barking, it's probably A.J. Giden. He's paid some dues, and to a large degree has probably earned a lot of Bob Knight's trust.
And no doubt. Haston makes good on a pair. Just 4 points for Haston tonight, or I should say this afternoon, coming off the big game against Penn State, which he tallied 25. David Lepore, hounded by Lynn Washington. Difficult matchups, man-to-man wise, all over the floor for Northwestern in this game.
True.
Newman blocked by Giden.
Very true.
Giden takes Blake off the dribble. Lepore rebounds it. Newman. Kevin O'Neill has said his kids have got to learn how to compete on this level. It's not non-conference caliber, it's Big Ten caliber, and that's a whole different story. And his kids are learning the hard way how to compete on this level.
Winners of only 4 games this season. Ironically, 3 of them came in a row, but they have not tasted victory since December 18th.
Newman with time winding down. Lepore got it off in time for 3. Ring it up.
Beautifully done. He was composed the entire time, Lepore. He knew the shot clock was winding down, but he needed a pump fake to free himself a little bit more. Used that pump fake and used every millisecond of the clock.
Yes. Are you sure he knew that the clock was winding down? He was too calm for that. Haston trying to create as it's stripped away. Haston got it back and drew the foul. In a crowd, Kirk Haston fouled. Brody Darren picks up his second personal foul. 5th on the team. Kirk Haston goes to the line.
You know, you never know what can happen, but, you know, it's not often that Indiana's going to wilt and lose a 24-point lead. But if I'm Northwestern, I continue to play hard. I continue to try to break it down in small increments. Try to build for the next opportunity.
Haston, quite a story. Lost his mother tragically in a tornado back in Tennessee this summer. Very close to his mom. Makes good on a pair at the line. And Indiana continues to lead big at Northwestern. In a controversial game, the Hoosier Daddy game, so to speak, and Bob Knight extends the olive branch to the student section here at Northwestern prior to the game here today, tossing candy to the crowd. And I'll tell you, they were all set to taunt Coach Knight as they did a year ago, but that quelled, I think, a little bit of their anticipation. You never know, as you said so appropriately, Greg, what Coach Knight is going to do.
Again, that speaks to the experience of being an adult. He came out and took their weapons away.
Yes, he did. Aaron Jennings, nice move inside. He's got 6 points in the second half. Indiana comfortably in front. A.J. Giden, guarded by Collier Drayton. Here's Lewis on the drive, double clutch, scored, and a foul. Beautiful move by Michael Lewis.
I'm telling you, Wayne, going to the left, he is a terrific offensive player. No one has been able to figure out yet how to take that left hand away. Here, he turns the corner, and now he's intent on scoring. And he does most of his scoring off that side of the floor.
Lewis is a left-hander, obviously, and Greg, is it a little different playing defense against a left-handed shooter?
Well, you just don't see very many left-handers. You know, probably 70% of the population is right-handed. You're used to being a right-handed defender. You get on that right side, and then a guy goes left. You didn't realize, oh, that's a strong hand, yes. But you're beat by then.
David Newman back in, so is Robinson for Northwestern. Jason Burke.
Look how they close to the ball, Indiana, defensively.
You would think this was a two-point game the way they're playing defense out there.
Their defensive quickness is very, very sound.
On the drive, shot contested. Drayton went to the board with it. Foul coming up. Today's Dynegy Power Stat brought to you by Dynegy, America's dynamic energy company and a proud sponsor of Big Ten basketball. Look at that shooting. Indiana up around 60%.
Yeah, the defense isn't bad either.
No. Collier Drayton at the free throw line puts in on his first. He'll have another.
A bit of a respite, if you will, for Collier Drayton. That after having to chase A.J. Giden all over the arena. He has really had his work cut out for him defensively.
And it's shown in his offense. Just 1 point, 1 rebound so far. A lot of times when you have a challenge like that defensively, it does take a toll on whatever offense you can provide.
Very true.
Foul had been on Larry Richardson that precipitated those free throws by Collier Drayton. Indiana sets up offensively. Here's Richardson. Fife. Haston down low, I believe got pushed in the back, and if that's on Aaron Jennings, that's going to be his fourth. No, it's on Robinson. Adam Robinson's second personal. 17 fouls, though, already on Northwestern. Jared Odell goes to the line. A look at his work this season. Collier Drayton the rebound. Indiana leading it 59-34. And Richardson picks up his third. Over the back as Robinson made the reception.
Richardson sometimes has the propensity to reach in, to not play defense totally with his feet, but to try and get deflections by reaching over his opponent's back. And this time was whistled for the foul.
David Newman off the dribble.
Tough to enter.
Yeah, it really is. They've had a hard time all season getting either dribble penetration or penetration to a post man down low. For three, Burke gets the unkind bounce. Fife for three. Good seal by Hardy on Jared Odell. The lead, Collier Drayton. Nicely done.
That time Northwestern got a good rebound Ditto with the outlet, and able to run the ball up the floor and get a transition opportunity. They've had very few of those in this game.
Dane Fife went to the floor to set a screen a moment ago. Here's Giden.
He's your answer guy.
20 points for A.J. Giden. 12th time this season he scored 20 or more points.
Whenever you need a response, not that they truly need it one way, but
yes.
you know, you get it to Giden and he can deliver.
Yeah, it's not like they really needed a response to that
right.
Northwestern run or anything like that today. Unforced error there by the Wildcats. Errant pass. Robinson leaves, and again playing today with a hamstring injury for Northwestern. And Aaron Jennings back on. We haven't seen much of Brody Darren here today.
No.
Lewis. 8 points, Michael Lewis.
They sort of traded roles that time. It was Giden to Lewis instead of the other way around.
8 minutes gone by, second half.
I think if you needed to, you could.
Fife, steal, and score.
He's very good at making that adjustment to free himself when he's going to the basket. I was about to say with Michael Lewis, I bet you if you needed him to, he could easily score 15 to 17 points a game for you.
I don't think there's any question about it. Led the state of Indiana in scoring as a senior in high school to 31 points a game. But here it is, miscue Northwestern. Dane Fife, second leading steals man of the Big Ten, makes him pay. Wayne Larrabee, Greg Kelser, it's been all Indiana, and we've seen it all from the Hoosiers, offense and defense. Watch A.J. Giden on the move. This is what he does so well.
Shakes his defender, Collier Drayton one way, goes the other way, and he is moving on up the line.
Yes, he is. He's going to catch Alan Henderson. There's not much doubt about that. A.J. Giden, what a career he's had at Indiana. Today, 7 of 13 from the field, 5 of 5 from the free throw line, 20 points in the game. David Newman gets the step. From the corner, Winston Blake for three.
Nicely done. Northwestern gives you moments of positive play, penetration, the kick out, the simple shot that time. But they have not been able to sustain it, but you get a feeling with these young players, better days are coming.
A glimmer, maybe, of the future. Down low, some rough play in the post. No, 3-second violation. Apparently Larry Richardson too long in the lane. As Greg mentioned, that man coaches not scoreboard, he coaches possession to possession. And when you look at the scoreboard, that's the only way Northwestern can play in this game today.
Exactly.
Blake clears Fife. Boy, the Hoosiers crashing the boards. Lewis couldn't climb the front of the rim with that shot. Aaron Jennings the rebound, and here come the Wildcats. Lepore for three. Bring it up.
Clearly today, when Steve Lepore has caught it and shot it without a whole lot of messing around, he has come away with better dividends.
He hit 5 3-point field goals to lead Northwestern at Minnesota. Giden comes back with the answer. 22 for A.J. Giden, the leading scorer in the Big Ten. Newman. Jared Odell guards Lepore. And he bears watching in the arc. Got a push coming up on Odell. First personal on Jared Odell. That is, I believe, the fourth on the team. Make it 5 team fouls. Odell leaves, and Luke Jimenez back on for Indiana. Halfway through second half. Fife almost had another steal there. Jump ball.
Can ill afford to be tentative with any passes when he's in the area. He's always looking to play the passing lane. I'm talking about Dane Fife right there. Stepping in right there, anticipating and looking to go the other way.
On the alternating possession, it belongs to Northwestern. Johnson jumping into the lane.
And finishing with the offhand.
If you're a Northwestern fan, you're wondering where was this in the first 5 minutes of the game. Lewis trying to feed Richardson, taken away by Jennings. Collier Drayton. Johnson, good back cut by Burke. Great find by Ben Johnson.
Hey, this offense is doing some things, getting some things done right now. They're moving well without the basketball. They're passing it much better. And you've got Ben Johnson now continually creating for his teammates. Again, the back cut, pass right on the money, and the finish at the hoop by Burke.
10-2 run by Northwestern.
Crowd's dealing with the possession too, huh?
Yes. Yeah, they're cheering possession to possession is how they're doing it. Bullet feed into Giden from Lewis. What a deft delivery through the lane. 24 for A.J. Giden. Foul coming up on the other end. Luke Jimenez commits the foul. This Big Ten bass now. Ben Johnson, 9 points, 6 assists so far. 8 points and 3 of 8 shooting the other night at Purdue. Johnson reaches double digits with 10. Adam Robinson coming on, replacing Jennings for Northwestern. Larry Richardson leaves and Kirk Haston back on for Indiana. Johnson gets a look at his second. And makes good on a pair. 11 points for Ben Johnson. Indiana's lead is 21. Haston takes it into a crowd and got tied up. Alternating possession, it'll belong to Indiana, but nonetheless, you hate to see your big guy bring it down to everybody else's level. And watch this.
Yeah, no question about that. But, you know, that's not something that he does a lot. Haston generally gets the basketball, makes his move right away. You don't strip it from him a lot, but we haven't heard a lot from him in this game. They haven't needed him.
Lynn Washington, great interior passing by Indiana. 8 points for Washington. Robinson, look at Haston out defensively. The same for Lynn Washington on Winston Blake. Drayton moves it quickly. Johnson, quick release over Lewis. Ben Johnson with 13.
He's just a young player who's going to get better and better, and I think will make a lot of noise in this conference before his career is over.
Robinson trying to deny the feed into the post, and Haston gets called for the foul.
But I think in the meantime, you may want to give Johnson as much freedom as you possibly can, because, you know, he's the one that's going to give you any chance of winning right now while you're trying to grow.
I agree, Greggy. He's the one guy on this team that can beat you off the dribble, can get his shot on his own, basically. And, you know, you've got to let him, you've got to allow him a little freedom, and I think Kevin O'Neal does that.
Yeah.
He realizes also this kid has to develop his game so that when they do get to crunch time situations in games, when they get a few more players in here and they are competing down the stretch to win games, that this can be your go-to guy.
I like his upside.
8 points for Kirk Haston. He makes a pair at the line. Not a lot to cheer about for the Northwestern crowd, but they've done their part. Season that has not met certainly performance levels of previous years, but Iowa has a win, started the season with a win over defending national champion UConn, and also has a win over nationally ranked Kansas to its credit in the non-conference campaign.
Impressive performance by the Hawkeyes last week in Badgerland as they were able to go up there and get a win, and that seemed to have propelled them to their success later in the week over Kansas.
And then Kansas responding today with what appears to be a solid win in the Big 12. Shot comes up short there from Johnson. Let's look at the sleep-in game summary to this point. Indiana, if you missed it, opened with a clinic, an 18-0 run. Giden having another fine afternoon. Northwestern struggled in the first half to shoot it. Indiana ran its offense very well. Johnson has responded here in the second half for Northwestern. Inside of 7.5 minutes to go for the game. Some interesting games coming up in the Big Ten tonight. Wisconsin at Minnesota. Purdue at Iowa. Haston. We saw that hook shot early this season down at Assembly Hall in Bloomington. And Greg, you made the point. That's old school. It is, and he works on that.
Yeah, he likes that little move. Knocked down 3 in that game you just mentioned against Minnesota.
Tavares Hardy inside. Look at Lewis right back with the Indiana offense.
You know, it's really unfortunate for Northwestern because right now they're realizing that we can score against these guys, and they're still playing pretty intense defense, Indiana. It's just that it took them so long to get things going in the first half that when they finally did settle down, it was pretty much decided, I guess.
Where's the old blacktop shoes?
That's all he's missing.
Yeah. Yeah, a little shorter shorts, little blacktop shoes, black and white picture on the screen, and you've got 1950s basketball. Kirk Haston, a little throwback move there.
Yeah, he's got the haircut.
Yeah, he sure does. Johnson picks up his 4th personal foul. And that precipitates these free throws at the line, and Lewis makes good on his first. Lewis with 9 points. Solid all-around game for him here today. Earlier today, a big win for Michigan State. Knocked off Connecticut 85-66. And that game maybe not as close as that final score might indicate. Very impressive effort by the Spartans.
Well, you got to know that Michigan State was pointing to that game since last year when they went to Connecticut and they lost.
Johnson guilty of a travel as he jumped between defenders. Well, how do you see it? Michigan State, Ohio State right now at the top of the conference. Indiana right there with them in terms of performance.
At the top, it's very strong.
Where the conference drops off a little bit from, let's say, compared to last year, Greg, might be in some of those middle tier teams,
exactly.
You know. But you got to look at it right here. Purdue not quite as good as they were a year ago. Illinois is better than they were a year ago. Not as good as they'd like to be or might be. Penn State improved. Michigan.
Young.
Very young. Iowa obviously rebuilding. Minnesota, Wisconsin, not the teams they were a year ago. And then Northwestern. They were a very competitive team last year as well.
But at the top, you've got 3 teams that could go deep into the NCAA tournament, provided they stay healthy and continue to improve.
Lewis now with the 11 points in the game. Newman had picked up his 4th personal foul. And that brought forth these free throws. Wildcats over the double foul limit. Indiana 20 of 24, make it 21 of 25 at the free throw line. Best free throw shooting team normally in the Big Ten. They do a good job at the line, taking advantage of their opportunities there. Matter of fact, they ranked 3rd overall in the conference this season. Indiana leading 79-52. Kind of an errant pass there. Northwestern still has time to collect on this possession. Winston Blake trying to penetrate, squares for the shot. Rebound to Blake. Got a fresh shot clock, why not reload it? Late delivery to Jennings. Jimenez got a piece of it. Newton intercepted. Here comes Lewis. Fouls on Winston Blake. His second.
Yeah, a moment ago, Jennings made a great backdoor cut to the basket, but the ball was late. And again, deflected. Turnover ensued. Indiana going in transition with this guy going left, going all the way. He gets grabbed. He almost got disrobed as he made his move to the hoop. I like Michael Lewis.
5 seniors on this Indiana roster. And boy, I tell you, that makes a difference when you get into the Big Ten season. There as A.J. Giden has a seat on the bench, 24 points. Quite a ball game again for him.
Yeah, they've been where Northwestern is now. They've taken their lumps. They've matured and they know what to expect. And now they're realizing all the fruits of that hard work. Speaking of Indiana, good basketball team. And that's a good player.
Yep. One of the best. Lepore has it denied on the block. Hornsby to Lewis. Newton down low. Good cut, Lewis. Nice ball movement. Haston was fouled on the drive. Whoa, no foul. They called a held ball. It's going to belong to Northwestern.
Oh, man.
Great reaction by Jennings at the baseline, I believe. See if we can re-rack that. Here it is.
Well, first of all, enjoy the unselfishness, the extra passing, and then the block from behind by Jennings. Very difficult to do without fouling.
Got a foul coming up on Indiana here. It's going to be on Odell, I believe. Either, yes, Jared Odell picks it up. 17 fouls now, third on Odell. Aaron Jennings at the line. He's made some plays here in this second half on both ends. Couple of blocks, 3 field goals. This is a freshman Kevin O'Neal has high hopes for. Jennings out of Atkins, Iowa, Benton Community High School, a freshman. Attended the same high school as the Cowboys defensive lineman Chad Hennings.
6 feet 11 inches tall, will probably grow to 7 feet before he leaves here.
Jimenez for 3. 10 for Luke Jimenez off the bench. Well, what they're hoping for Jennings, not only will he gain an inch or 2 in height, but also widen a little bit, put some muscle on that big frame, and I'm sure they'll do that.
You'll need to.
I remember Evan Eschmeyer years ago as a freshman in here, and just a skinny rail of a kid, and he left a man. Of course, he did get 6 years to accomplish all of that, but hey, there was nothing wrong with that if you can get it.
Yeah, playing with the New Jersey Nets now.
Yes, indeed. Hard-working kid. Oh, nice tip inside. I believe that was Odell. Indeed it was. 4:07 left to go in the ball game. Wildcats continue the learning process, and the Hoosiers are moving in on their 17th win of the season, their 7th in 9 conference games. Bob Knight has his team circled around him. And take a look at this. Under Knight, they've done this 8 times. Each time they've gone 16-3 to start a season. They've either won the Big Ten or reached the Final Four. Well, as we mentioned, there are 3 really high caliber teams, Michigan State, Ohio State, and Indiana in this conference. And you can picture any one of those 3 teams, I think, projecting along the line, depending on how it breaks with the tournament and the bracketing and everything else. But you could project any one of those 3 teams getting to the Final Four, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
Indiana may not have quite the marquee players the other 2 have, but they play the team game as well as anybody in the country, and they do have a marquee standout in A.J. Giden.
Their defense can take them far.
Yes.
You know, even on a day when they may struggle offensively, they'll make sure you're struggling offensively as well.
Steve Lepore able to connect, 14 for him. Remember, Indiana began this game on an 18-0 run, and they have never been headed it. Geyer and Coverdale in the ball game now, and this is Coverdale. David Newman from the outside for 3. 5 for David Newman.
Well, again, in your desire to find something positive, something good, Northwestern can look to their play in the second half. Far better, much more relaxed on offense than in that first half. Perhaps something to build on.
Yeah, indeed. Newton will go to the line, shoot a pair.
I mean, let's be honest about it. Indiana overmatched in you know, they've got the better talent. They're the better basketball team. Obviously, they're the more mature basketball team. But Northwestern did not help themselves by coming out a little jittery, I think, and falling down so much before settling down.
Well, absolutely. And again, the shooting, they had a couple of open shots down the stretch of the first half and weren't able to collect. And as you mentioned, a lot of that nerves and jitters. There's been a lot of talk in this area about last year's game. Only 2 players remain from last year's squad. 3 if you want to count the walk-on Jeff Eschmeyer. Indiana on the roll. A.J. Giden provides us with our advanced auto parts play of the game. The best part is our people.
Watch the take. I mean, he just shook the defense totally that time. Collier Drayton before launching the jumper.
You couldn't picture it there, but from our angle as we watch it live, Giden in the air, moving to his left in midair and let that shot go. Boy, I tell you.
You noticed that, huh?
Yeah, you can't see it from that camera angle, but boy, from here you could. That was something. There's a hold coming up on Kyle Hornsby. Yeah, I notice more than you think. Sometimes.
Listen, I know you are tremendously astute, not only at basketball,
sure,
but I've heard your football broadcast.
Well, I tell you what, he's loading it on now, folks. This must be fill time. Take a look at this, Greg. I mean, since the jittery, as you mentioned, I think apropos, 0 for 10 start, Northwestern has shot 50% from the field. And we've pointed out, Indiana has not exactly relaxed in this game for the most part. I mean, they've got some of their bench personnel in there now, a couple of walk-ons on the floor, but nonetheless, they play aggressively on defense, whether they're up by 10 or 20.
Yeah, they got some things accomplished, and you know, maybe on a day when they're playing a lesser opponent, this effort and perhaps the confidence gained by it will help you get over the top.
Could be for Northwestern. Geyer finds Coverdale. Shot off the mark by Hornsby. Coverdale blocked on the drive by Winston Blake. Geyer a little too strong there. Coverdale fighting hard. Oh! Did not get rewarded.
The basket has a cover on it, unfortunately.
It's a nice turn of words.
Well, I was impressed with Coverdale's
effort,
stick-to-itiveness.
Yes, indeed. Aaron Jennings with 10. Marv Levy used to use words. The old Buffalo Bills, Kansas City Chiefs coach used to use words like that. Odell misses in close. Newman has had a tough day. Hasn't done a whole lot today offensively. He'll go to the line. He used to use words like stick-to-itiveness. And esprit de corps was another one he used to use when talking about the spirit of his teams.
Yeah, I probably got that from him.
Yeah,
you know,
I probably did.
I'm not opposed to stealing, you know.
Hey.
Another guy we haven't talked about a lot on the line, Jeffrey Newman. Kind of quiet today.
Bob Knight moving past Western Kentucky coach Ed Diddle, I should say. Newman makes good on a pair at the line. Final minute 30 in this one. Aaron Jennings. He's shown us a little bit. He's got 12 second half points.
Well, if he grows and puts on that weight, bulks up like you talked about a moment ago, his future could be very bright in this program as well.
Wildcats had numbers. Newman pulls up. Jared Odell the rebound. Kyle Hornsby sets it up for Indiana.
It's a good crowd today, Wayne. You know why? None of them have left.
They've all stayed. The student section has been as boisterous as one could be. When you get down 18-0, it's hard to be cheering, but they've given it all the effort they could.
It's as if they said, hey, we came dressed. Let's party anyway.
Yeah, let's have fun. And they have. Knocked out of bounds. Last touch by Indiana's Kyle Hornsby. They did. They dressed for this affair. These are friends of yours out there, aren't they? Yeah. These guys are going to be in the parking lot after the game directing your ride to the airport.
Well, clear the way, fellas.
Yeah.
I got to get there.
I don't know if you're going to make that plane. But if you don't, they'll have a cold one for you at some point. Time winding down to this one. 7 to go on the shot clock. Jennings in traffic. Block. He got pushed on the play. The block by Jeffrey Newton, and the push came up on Jared Odell. Reminder, Mike Gleason will be back in the Big Ten studio with updates on all the games throughout college basketball today. Get you caught up to date. Perhaps set the schedule for you. The Big Ten coming up. Wisconsin's at Minnesota tonight. Purdue on the road to Iowa. Aaron Jennings makes good on his first. He'll have another. Career best 13 points for Aaron Jennings. .14 for Jennings. Jeff Nelson, our statistician, here today. Good to have Jeff back with us. This half, Northwestern's outscored Indiana 46-41. Here's the lob for Robinson, a bit off the mark. Timing not quite there from Newman to Robinson, but the effort was as this one winds down. Much different finish than a year ago. Bob Knight, Kevin O'Neill, brief handshake. There were no taunts from the crowd here today. Bob Knight sweetened things by tossing candy to the student section when he came on. Indiana started 18-0. They never looked back. The Hoosiers post the victory. Their 17th of the season for Greg Kelser, Wayne Larrabee. So long from Welsh Ryan Arena. Mike Gleason is next.
Cats on the Big Ten Network.